What about endorsing us to sponsor you becoming a product yourself now? If that means slaving away your freedom of mind, freedom of choice to trade it in for a hero, but it's really corporate worship, when it boils down to spending irresponsibly and companies taking advantage of your consuming to fatten up your ideas and perception for the comfort to ease the pain from the day to day, only to force you to fasten while fasting the moral compass, ready to slim down your chances just to pick up the prices they're willing to pay.
It's more important to know how to interact with someone utilizing these personality traits than how to identify the traits in a person. Because when you can identify how to interact with a person utilizing these traits,
The things that, like, just for an example, that two of the ladies would come over and tend to my.
You may very well be in a position where you need that exploration and experience. It's like that's going to be what it takes both for you to feel satisfied with the level of experience you have and also to get an opportunity to experience genuine consequences from it.
And for those of you who don't know, St. Augustine is one of the most haunted cities in the United States. And I think it was our 3-year anniversary. I can't remember, but I had decided to rent a bed and breakfast for us for about 3 days. And we had 2 bed and breakfasts. So the first one was at a well-known haunted bed and breakfast. We had 2 nights there. And then the third night we spent somewhere else.
What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? Peace, blessings, glory, praise, and honor to the Most High. Welcome to another episode of Assembly of Excellence. I am your host for this evening.
Down the Mongo, shit like that, shit like that, shit like that.
Thank you for grabbing a seat. It's always a privilege and a pleasure to be able to sit in front of you guys and have these conversations. Just me being myself, nobody else, sharing my points and views on things that I agree and disagree with. Tonight is no different. Friday is right around the corner. We have so much to be grateful for. And I hope and pray that each and every single one of you are counting your blessings. It's not a time to be bitter or angry or upset. Whatever feelings you might have towards something or somebody, is it really worth holding on to and harboring all of that inside of you? I highly doubt it is. I don't think there's really too much in this world worth taking too serious when you consider how short the lifespan is. And that's just me being honest about it. We got some things to talk about tonight. A couple topics that I want to cover. And I'm not in no way, shape, form, or fashion here to take sides or bash I want to share a lot of insight, because there's certain narratives that get painted on a person's name a lot, and it's not always subjective. A lot of these situations are typically based on rumor and jealousy and hatred. Sometimes it really doesn't have no identifier whatsoever. People in this day and age, all they really want to do is censor you and keep you from telling the truth or speaking on things that go against what they want. So I have a couple of thoughts on this. Um, and then there's another subject that I would like to cover as well. We will get into that here real shortly. I want to give my flowers out real quick to all of my writers, my poets, singers, my content creators in general. You know who you are. Tomorrow we got the virtual open mic, 8 o'clock. Tap in. Make sure you got all the amenities that you need to be comfortable and relaxed, because it's going down. I'm excited for tomorrow's show. It's going to be a goodie. Check your email. I sent you the link. This is the second. But I got a question. I have two questions. How much do you know about Andrew Tate? And how much do you know about sociopaths? Because that's the rabbit hole we going down tonight. So do me a solid. Remove any bias you might have. Keep a clear mind on this, and let's see where this goes. Jason, I see you. I'm bringing you up.
What is going on?
Good evening. Good evening. We here. We here. Alive and breathing and well. What's the word?
Not much. Just carrying on, keeping on, carrying on. You know how it is.
So there's two things that I wanted to go over. There's a story going around about Andrew Tate and his brother, and then I wanted to touch on, and I believe we covered this before, but I'm not really too sure. Um, Sociopaths. Um, Now I didn't do any real background on why the Tates have been put in this position. Apparently, there's more accusations of uh, some unsavory actions between him and adolescents. But this isn't new. This isn't the first time he's been put in the spotlight for crimes of this nature, soliciting and things of that caliber. Um, how much do you know about it, or are you familiar with the news on them, and what's your point of view on it? I have one. I don't. I'm completely unbiased in this. I don't have the gavel or the power or the foresight to pass judgment because I'm not living inside of his head. I'm not omnipresent, but I just wanted to get your take on it, just so we could have like at least we have a fair forum while a number of people speak on this. But I don't know if they're going to unpack it this way. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on it real quick.
Sure. So I am familiar with the Tate brothers. I do know them, not personally, but I've followed their stuff, especially Andrew Tate. He's always been the one that's been more out in the spotlight. I know that he's really been he's really focused on men, acting like good men, and helping nice guys or helping men who have become quote unquote simps um, take back their power as masculine men and act in a way that, as he believes, act in a way as God had intended, making sure men are acting as leaders, those who serve others and are treated with the respect that they deserve. I know that there has been a lot of shade that has been cast his way because of the way that he speaks and the way that he brings up certain issues. He's seen as a misogynist. He's seen as a sexist, as someone who does not have any real respect for women at all. Um, and the things that he has said, the way that he has carried himself, either in public, either on YouTube or in podcasts, or even the way that he distributes his courses, has not been that at all. He is very much pro masculine, but he's not anti feminine. And I think that this has raised a lot of ire with people who are seeking to push a certain agenda. And I believe this is why the Tates have come under serious fire. Um, Andrew's brother, I forget his name, but he's often been partnered with his brother on many of these things and has been in lockstep with his brother, supporting and promoting these ideas as well. And back in 2022, he was arrested in Romania. No, no charges were filed, but he was held without bail, without the ability to consult an attorney, basically unlawfully imprisoned for over 6 months. It was close to 8 months, actually. And then he was released. There were allegations, like there are now, of trafficking, of abuse, of all kinds of things, and nothing stuck the first time. And so, from what I see, they're trying it again. They're trying to now bring about a new set of charges in hopes to silence this man and what he stands for. As I said, I only know what I see and what I've interacted with, and all I know is that this is someone who has really put himself as a hero for men to become an idea of what men can possibly be. And he has used this platform unabashedly, fearlessly, regardless of the personal, professional, and social attacks that have been happening against him. As far as whether I think that these allegations are true or not, I have no idea. I have no way of knowing. All that I can do is just see what happens. I have a suspicion that they are unlawful or fabricated charges, but that remains to be seen. And that's really all that I know, and I'll stop there.
See, the reason why I wanted to discuss it is because, this isn't, like you just stated here, this isn't the first time that he's been put on the spotlight. And you can look at it one or two ways. I try to stay open to all possibilities. I'm a firm believer in innocent until proven guilty. With the initial um, allegations that ended him up in prison for some 6 months, there was audio that came out that proved that the accusers pretty much did what they did out of spite, and it was in an attempt to get him completely uh, demolished in the public eye as this person who is really supposed to be standing in the gap to represent men in a way where masculinity should be something to be proud of. My issue that always circles back with high profile cases is the fact that we play investigator as outsiders looking in so much that we want to feel a part of the person's lifestyle. We want to embark on their expenditures, and we want to take the journey as if we were a part of it so badly that we will pick sides. But the truth of the matter is, none of us really know if anything that is going on is actually factual, or is it something that's being passed through a third party. Example, I guarantee in the next couple of weeks you will see a plethora of Andrew Tate videos with different versions of a story to it. People are going to have clippings, people are going to have text messages, people are going to have testimonies, and everyone's going to have different versions of what's happening. But what is the actual truth? Who has the actual evidence? Right? There's a video that I could look at right now and say this is a bait post. You just titled it a certain way, so it would drag the viewership in here so that you can whatever. The agendas are always so disingenuous that why would I want to believe or listen to anything that you're saying when the whole time your only intentions is to utilize the publication of someone's attempt to devalue a person's character for the world all over what? Because his word means something to him, because he really believes in what he's speaking on. Now, in the video that I'm referring to, and I'll hand it back to you, in the video that I'm referring to, they titled it Andrew Tate admits to interacting with adolescent females. So, I mean, anybody who reads that is going to say, what? Did he say what? Your curiosity is going to make you click on the video because you want to hear me. I want to hear him say out of his mouth that he admits to it. I want to hear him verbatim say it. But then oftentimes what happens is they title it that. You click on the video, you start to watch it, 2 minutes in, 3 minutes in, 5 minutes in, and you don't see him say nothing to the effect of admitting to nothing. it's always a bait post. So slander is one of the most cruelest forms of clout chasing that I've ever seen, and it's very distasteful. I'm not for. I would not do that to my worst enemy, and I hand it over to you.
So, problem with using video from or audio from podcasts or video blogs or video casts. You have no idea if it is genuine or not. You don't know if it's just a puff piece. You don't know if he's actually speaking to his actual experience. You don't know. So it seems like the witch hunt continues because his voice is giving power to a certain part of the population that the powers that be wish to disempower, and they realize that they aren't winning. They being the ones who wish to see men disempowered. There will always be a section of men that you can't because they just have too much drive. And I think that not only that, but also you can edit a video to make it sound like something that it actually isn't. I mean, we saw it during the leading up to the 2016 election, where there was video of Trump that was altered and misrepresented to say something that he never meant to say. And so it's very possible, it's probable even, to believe that the same thing is going on with Andrew Tate, that these videos being doctored are being edited in order to say something he didn't actually say. That's it's really the only way to know is to have the raw footage, and then have if he did say what he said, is there evidence to back up the allegations, or is it just him talking? Because last time I checked, well, I don't know about Romania, but I know that no, never mind. I was going to say something that I really can't, I can't prove. So I'm going to not say that. But I think that there is just that this is just another witch hunt, and we shall see if my belief is correct or not, depending on how things go or how well the Romanian government is able to um, falsify evidence to make allegations stick. We shall see.
It's interesting to me how far humans will go to shut the truth up. How far a person will go to hide their skeletons. You know, say whatever you want about movies and network television is poisonous. Most of what you see is not real. Whatever you want to characterize it as, but the reality is we will go to the ends of the earth, a good majority of us, to keep our dirt from surfacing. And you could say that's what he's doing, or you could say on the flip side, that's what these feminists are doing. This is what this government is doing. This is what these individuals are doing that benefit more off of shutting him up are doing. You could look at it from different angles. I have to, well, first of all, the only real reason why I would want to know the truth is for a couple of reasons. One, because are you the person that everyone seems to be rallying behind and going to for advice? Are you that person, or are you that person using what you have to gaslight an entire community of men into coming under your wing when your intentions and your goal is a lot more sinister than what it seems? How many times has a person of his stature later on in life come to be something that they weren't? P. Diddy is right now going through all kinds of hell, and he's had accusations on him for decades with the Tupac situation, with his bad business deals and everything. He's always been under the radar, under the microscope, paying people off, this, that. Now, all of his shit is getting surfaced or exposed. So I don't see here. My thing is, you can't put nothing past any single human being on this earth. Everyone is capable of being a monster, or sinning, or falling short, or stepping into a lane that you never thought that person could do. Oh, you thought they was the nicest person in the world. They wore glasses, they wore a suit and tie, and they always spoke proper, and they always dressed nerdy, and this, that, and the third. That don't mean nothing. That person could be worse than the street person that you think is always into something all the time. The government, even just on a low grade, is just as corrupt. So I have no side on this. I side with what is right. Now, if you're attempting to just destroy this man, and I'll turn it over. If you're just attempting to destroy and ruin this man's name because of his message, that says a couple things to me. It means that you're coming for everyone else who thinks and operates the same way as him. He won't be the last person. He's not the first, but he definitely won't be the last person. Because if he's really standing on moral high ground and he has nothing to lose sleep over, then it doesn't matter how much you try to bury who he is. People who know the truth and know what it's about and how to move and operate like how he's speaking on by example, those are gems that you cannot get rid of. Anyone who has a listening ear and their eyes are open, you can't unlearn something that is the truth. Whether you try to hide it and disguise it and try to villainize a person, or what, is not going to work. Not on people who are tapped in. It's not. You can't confuse or cause friction or manipulate a person who has God and who has spiritual insight, and their mental is not bombarded with a bunch of nonsense that has nothing to do with being a decent human being. Just the bare fundamentals. I turn it over.
I do want to give credence to the flip side, because if actually he is guilty, if he has done the things that the Romanian government are alleging that he has done, and they do have proof of these allegations, and they have they're able to build a viable case based on real evidence, not fabricated, but real evidence, and he turns out to be the monster that they're saying him to be, then I hope that they send him to the level of hell that he belongs. Because there is no reality in which victimizing a person or grooming somebody for your own self-serving pursuits is ever justified and needs to be punished to the fullest extent of the law. Taking advantage and preying on people in that way is, in my estimation, a crime against humanity and must be treated as such. If he's guilty, I hope that he pays. If he is not, I hope the truth will set him free. And that's all I have to say about that.
My last thoughts on this story, and we're going to the next topic. For the content creators and the viewers who pick sides based on what evidence do you make your decision or your choice? What part of staying neutral is out of the equation with this? I get it. You want the views and you want people talking about this. I understand it. But do you truly understand how deep this goes? How this really affects other people? It's not just about him. There's a message here. And the message is, you tell the truth, they're going to try to ostracize you. If they want and decide that they want to bring you down or try to destroy you, they will do everything in their power. They won't stop. You can have no blemishes on your name. All it takes is one accusation. All it takes is one jealous person. All it takes is one envious person who wishes they had your life to say one negative thing about you, make a TikTok or a reel or a video and make it look so sensationalized that it spreads, and that can completely destroy you. But if you got God, there's nothing that a soul can do. There's not a single soul that can devise anything crafty enough to tarnish your name. And so we will find out. We will find out if he is a stand-up guy or if he's not. One thing I do want to say is he's no different than me or the next person. No celebrity is exempt. And if this is true, then we need to be looking at others. But I find it hilarious how they target him so much, but they don't target people who purposely and relentlessly go out of their way to make it known that they are destructive to the youth. They don't have the same energy to them. But I digress. Y'all let me know how y'all feel about it. Do you care about that at all? Do you think it has any impact on you at all? This one I wanted to get into though. I did a little reading on it, and what I came across it kind of it enlightened me. I'll say that there's some things I didn't know about it, and maybe you can elaborate a little bit more. Um, Sociopaths. What I read, and I'm gonna try to give cliff notes. I don't want to slaughter that author, but from what I read and what I got understanding of, a sociopath has traits of a psychopath, but they don't have the full connection to it. They exhibit antisocial behavior. That was supposed to be the original um, term for it. They lack the ability to emotionally bond or connect with people. Um, it's difficult for them to interact with groups of people unless they're forced into it. Uh, and they're very deceitful and very manipulative. It was a couple of points in there where I was reading. I'm like, so this is what that is. I didn't realize that it went that far down the rabbit hole. You know what I'm saying? Especially when you connect it to a psychopath, but when you say they're similar, but they're not similar, because with psychopaths, they can at least uh, bond or connect with people, whereas sociopaths have a very hard time connecting with a person. So uh, maybe you can elaborate a little bit more on that one.
I can. First of all, sociopaths and psychopaths are similar in the fact that neither one can create emotional bonds. Um, Psychopaths, the reason why people think that psychopaths can create emotional bonds because they know how to create um, exchanges with people that imitate bonding, but there is no sense of remorse from psychopaths. They don't feel remorse when they hurt someone. They don't feel remorse if they betray someone or if someone finds out they've been manipulated. They know the difference between right and wrong, but they don't feel remorse. They lack empathy. But they can pretend. They are very good at blending in and pretending as long as they can get what they want. Many people call individuals with sociopath, or I'm sorry, psychopathic tendencies as narcissists. But a narcissist also is a very different animal. We're looking at three very different mental health conditions when we look at narcissists, psychopaths, and sociopaths. So narcissists are people who crave validation. They are people who are they need admiration and to be recognized. They have a sense of entitlement. They deserve certain things. There's an expectation that is there of what they're going to attain. If you look at a lot of society nowadays, a lot of society are very narcissistic in their behavior, very self-serving, and that self-serving envy and arrogance, especially the desire of having what others have and the arrogance to believe they deserve it and that no one should be able to get in their way. You see that running amok in society today. This is what is defined as clinical narcissism. So then you go to a level deeper, psychopathy. Psychopathy, if you look at the Psychodynamic Diagnostic Manual, second edition, the PDM2, you will see that psychopathy is actually a condition of belief. There are three conditions of understanding of your reality when it comes to mental illness. There is neurosis, there is borderline, and there is psychopathy. So neurosis is understanding what is real. You have certain things that go on in your mind: anxiety, depression, self-serving behavior, whatever it might be. But you know what is real. You know what is expected of you. You know what right is and how to act in a right way. And we also have to look at well-adjusted, which is also a spectrum. So you've got well-adjusted, neurosis, borderline, and psychopathy. With borderline, you might have heard borderline personality disorder. Borderline personality disorder is basically, the definition of it literally is the disorder by which other disorders are manifested. So it is a collection of disorders that have a certain belief of the reality. There's sometimes a break with reality. They teeter on that edge of knowing what is real and what is not, and having a hard time sometimes keeping themselves rooted in reality. People who are manic depressive or bipolar, during a manic episode, you can see the borderline go into psychosis sometimes, especially if it's a really bad manic episode, where they're so excited by things that are going on in their mind and they believe that it's real, and they have very little to no grip of actual reality. And this is when people can really hurt themselves, when they don't have any kind of firm grasp of the laws of reality. So borderline is that on the fence, teetering back and forth, not between understanding what is real and what is not real. Psychopathy is a complete break with reality. It is you've gone off the deep end and you have no idea where shore is. You don't know what is up, what is down. The laws no longer apply. That is psychosis, I guess you actually say. It is that is not psychopathy. Psychopathy. It's psychosis. With psychopathy, there is a break in the understanding of how emotions and how behavior is supposed to work, and so you create your own rules. You create rules on how to be charming. It's always superficial. There's an impulsiveness there that normally doesn't exist with someone who is well adjusted. You have a lack of empathy, which creates trust and connection. This is why psychopaths don't create bonds. And then you have a lack of remorse whenever there is a hurt. So then you go on to sociopathy. Sociopathy goes really off the deep end. And this is someone who has a disregard for social norms. They just don't give a fuck. They don't care about what the social structure is. They're going to do their own thing regardless of who they hurt. They have an impulsivity that is also paired with irresponsibility for who they affect. They just don't care. They have often emotional outbursts, especially if they don't get what they want. But this can sometimes and quite often lead to harm, because again, there's no regard for other people. So they will do whatever they need to get what they want, regardless of who or how many they have to hurt. There is not only a difficulty, but usually there's an impossibility with forming attachments, because again of that lack of empathy. And this makes them seem very untrustworthy. There's something that goes on with people when they see someone who is psychopathic and or sociopathic, especially sociopathic, where they say this person's off. This person is making the hair on the back of my neck stand on end. This person is making me feel very uneasy. There's something about a psychopath that puts people on edge, because they understand subconsciously that this person does not regard the social rules that govern humanity. And that is what really defines a sociopath, is a disregard of those social rules that govern and promote the health of humanity. I'm going to stop there.
Yeah, you covered pretty much everything that I read. I couldn't remember all of it word for word, but you were pretty spot on. Trying to think of or find examples of just what that would look like. Not let's just remove it from the science side and just put it in the perspective of looking through the eyes of someone who moves and maneuvers like that, and maybe you know someone or you've dealt with someone who's been in this position before. I've been around a number of folks that I thought were narcissists, and I could have been wrong, and I might have just eaten my words, and maybe they just were just liars, or maybe they were just transparent. But then again, you don't know unless you actually recognize the symptoms, uh, because you could see instances of what you just said in a person, maybe once or twice, and rule it out. But as I was talking with Aaron last week, um, when a lot of these things develop in children, how do you recognize that? How do you pinpoint that in someone? It's not like I'm going out here just staring in people's faces every day trying to see, okay, hmm. Let me say hi to them. Let me see how they respond back. Or I'm dealing with somebody, or I've known somebody for a number of years, and I've always had conversations over the phone or whatever. I'm like, how do you determine that a person is operating from that position? What is an example?
So I'm going to cover some information that's going to be a little an inconvenient truth. Where once I say it, you can be like, I don't like it, but damn, he's not wrong. So the first thing I'm going to say is sociopaths, narcissists, and psychopaths are able to live freely among us, and it's our fault. And the reason why it's our fault is, by and large, I don't mean like you and mine. I mean like as in society. It is society's fault. And the reason why is because society has become so obsessed with producing. They've become so obsessed with moving fast, getting more done, hitting goals, focusing on what they can get for themselves. They've become very self-serving. And it's a hallmark of narcissistic like behavior. And this is the real pandemic. We've become so self-absorbed in our own goals that even our relationships and our families have become a what's the word? We form them by and large in order to further our own goals, or we form them with people that are aligned with our goals. We don't want to be tested any longer. We don't want to be forced to look at ourselves introspectively. We want to just get on with our goals. And so this leads to the second problem that has led to humanity or societies allowing these people to roam freely within society, is we assume so much about the people that we are interacting with, because one, we are afraid to call them out or to give them a shit test to figure out what their behavior is going to be like. And 2, we have an expectation that they're going to act a certain way, and we don't do enough to test that expectation because, again, we are so concerned by what we're going to attain and the goals we're going to reach that we only look at what is going to help us attain those goals. And all these things, the common denominator is a lack of human connection. And that is all that's required for especially psychopaths and well, actually all 3, narcissists, psychopaths, and sociopaths, to thrive, is to live among a society of people who do not value human-to-human connection, deep human connection. Because the moment we decide to actually step back and stop focusing on ourselves and focus on others and how they are really interacting and how we can create a deeper bond with them, how we can connect with them, then we begin to really see their behaviors. And it's only through the behaviors that we're able to really understand what goes through the minds of people. So if you and I were at a cookout and I were interacting with you, but I were only interacting with you in a way that I was evaluating you as far as how well how well you and I vibe, because I want to make sure that you match my energy, rather than me finding out who you really are. I am going to miss all kinds of cues that you might be giving off that you're not playing with a full deck, and vice versa. But if I really take time to ask questions, to find out more about you, to really see how you react to things, how you respond, even your micro expressions to certain environmental cues that you get. If I really focus on those, I can find out way more about you. And what that's going to do is it's going to allow me to create a better experience with you. I can make you feel more at ease, more comfortable, like I actually fit with you. And that you then want to find out how you can fit with me. Because in order for trust to be had, it has to be given. But as Brene Brown says, trust is the last thing that we want to reveal and the first thing we expect from others. And so if I'm willing to give you that trust by first learning how you operate and then operate in a way that you can feel like you can let your guard down and that you can then extend your real self, then we can really create that bond. And I can really see your personality. I can see if you're well-adjusted, if you are dealing with some stuff, or if you are really dealing with some stuff. And that's going to make it much easier for me to understand, well, is it someone that I can interact with, someone who needs my help, someone that I need to stay away from, or someone that I need to alert in authority to because they are a danger to themselves or others. And it's that level of detail that we as people have to be willing to evaluate others with. This is what I do with all the people that I am close friends with. I am close friends with them because they have passed that sniff test. They have passed that evaluation of who are you really? And I've been able to suss out the majority of their behavioral quirks. I've been able to approach those with a sense of I want to connect. And because of that, they've created a connection with me. And we have developed great bonds. There's some things about them that I don't agree with, but you know what? Who cares? We all have things that we do that we don't agree with other people, and that's fine. But it's the lack of even finding out how a person acts, the lack of understanding of who a person really is, that one makes it possible for the unsavory behavioral types to thrive. And as far as to your question, well, how do you figure that out? Well, this is through clustering. It's not through one action, one behavior. One thing does not equal one thing. That's called an attribution error, and is the worst way to try and assess a person's behavior. You have to know what you're looking for and cluster certain things together to create a behavioral profile. You have to be able to see 3 to 5 different pieces of information just to get a glimpse of that person. but that glimpse is going to help you understand a greater sense of who they are. And you have to have that idea about them. You have to be willing to cluster information so that you can understand their behavior. That's the only way that you can get an accurate understanding of who they are without having confirmation bias or attribution errors. And when you do that, you can create better connections, and you can really understand the unsavory types that you may not want to interact with, you may need to help, or that authorities may need to be alerted to.
I ain't gonna hold you. I think for me personally, and because I can't speak for everyone, I believe I've always been able to do this without knowing that I'm doing it. Sometimes I don't need to ask a number of questions to get the results that I need to get. Sometimes I'll ask just the right questions to get those little cues, those winks, or maybe them mugs, or them squints, any physiological response to something that I said, through maybe making a joke that might not have been very funny. It was pretty dry, or not agreeing with something that the party said. I think for me, I've always done it. Sometimes it's weird because maybe I watch too much TV, because the way that they have their scripts set up, you can tell how the relationship between the characters is going to typically go. One person is going to be the asshole, the other person is going to be the one that is time enough for the asshole, so they know how to give it back to him, and vice versa, so they bounce off of each other. You get into the real world, there's people who maneuver like that, but the chances of things escalating further are higher. And a lot of folks don't get. I I say this. I get what you're saying, and I do believe that a lot of our issues is because of lack of communication. And we did a show on that too, on how to communicate. So y'all should check that one out too. Definitely check that one out, especially if you have a hard time gauging what type of people you got around you, because maybe they're there for the right reasons, maybe they're not. But the idea is to vet people a little bit better, so as that not only do you protect yourself, but ensure that the things that you are pursuing isn't affected by the type of individuals that you keep around you, because that's scary. That's a scary thought, to think that we've basically are the reasons why we have so many of these types around us in circulation so frequent. And there's things that could have and can be prevented if we only take time to really reevaluate how we conduct ourselves, and how we talk to people, and how we listen, and base our questions and formulate responses and answers, and aren't so quick and so reactive. the art of communication is a very underappreciated technique and is underutilized, very underutilized.
One of the laws of human behavior is that negative behavior that is not corrected becomes rewarded. And we have a society of people whose negative behavior has not been corrected time and time again. So they've been allowed to get away with certain things over and over again. It's either not been corrected or it's been overtly rewarded. And again, because we are a society that values producing over connecting, we've allowed these kinds of behaviors to flourish.
Yep, that's pretty much the bottom line. Can't really blame nobody else. I can't blame nobody. I'll never point the finger at you or the next person for how someone looked at me or treated me. I don't care if you want to judge and do all of that extra, but in terms of keeping you physically around me, knowing how you are, after I've done exactly what you just eloquently broke down in terms of getting to know a person, asking the proper questions, and once you know what you know, there's no excuse, there's no going back. You have to act accordingly to what you just, the information that you gathered out of talking to these people. Like I will sit with you for an hour and talk to you about life. And if our personalities don't align for whatever reason, it has nothing to do with you personally. But then again, I can't sit here and say, well, based on me talking to you for an hour and some minutes, I have come to the conclusion that you're a sociopath. You need to get clinical help, or you need to go see. That's not what this is. What I am saying is, I saw some potential red flags that I need to identify with, because this is my body. This is my mental health we talking about here. So when people get offended when you have to say thanks but no thanks, or you're not really my type, or you have to turn down that dinner date or whatever, you take a rain check, it's not necessarily always personal. Some people make it vain and make it about superficial stuff. Sometimes it's really not for me personally. I can't speak for nobody, but I mean that's where I'm at with that. It's have I ever been around a person that was like emotionless, or didn't have the ability to? Maybe I think I've been around people who just didn't give a shit. Like you talk to them and they act like they care, but they really just let the shit go out the other ear. They ain't really, it didn't interest them. I've had that. Um,
You would know. You absolutely would know. And I know that because I've seen plenty of them. Um, I was in the military for 10 years. I've been a part of the military community for quite some time, and I have met some real sharks in skin clothing. People where when you shake their hand, the the hair on the back of your neck, the hairs on the back of your neck will stand on end. The kind of people, when you look into their eyes, you see nothing but a predator. And that stays with you. When you notice that, it changes your perspective of people a little bit, what they're capable of. So, yeah, if you met someone like that, I've talked with people who were in the mafia over in Rhode Island. I've spoken with people who have previously been incarcerated for murder. I've dealt with all kinds of unsavory types, and the ones who don't have any remorse, you see it, and you tread very lightly around them because you know what they're capable of, and you don't want to be at the business end of that. It's one of those things where when it's someone's profession and they have it under control, you're glad. And when it's someone's lifestyle and it just triggers whenever they want it to, you stay as far away from them as you possibly can.
I'm sure you got some stories, but ain't a lot of your one-on-ones with these people confidential, right? You can't. That's like client-patient confidentiality. You can't really.
True. Yes. There's some things that I can't talk about because of people that I've worked with or situations that I've been in, things that I have had to be a part of. I can't talk about. Some of that I just won't talk about because it's very disturbing. The things that I can talk about, I share freely. But listener beware. If we go down that road, there are going to be some things I talk about that are going to be quite disturbing, and it makes for good radio for sure. Makes for good entertainment to talk about those kinds of things. It also, for those who are in the know, it's like, man, or those who have experienced some sort of trauma, it can be somewhat triggering. These are things, experiences, and people that, when push comes to shove, your feelings don't matter. And the only thing that matters is what needs to get done. And what you feel about that is irrelevant. Because at the end of the day, you either survive or you don't. This just got really heavy really fast.
It did. The last 2 weeks has been about mental disorders, and the one that I did on, I believe it was last Monday. It was called body integrity dysphoria. And I didn't know nothing about that. I was so lost on that. I asked a coworker earlier, and he was like, "Yeah, I heard of it." I'm like, what? I've never heard of that before. And then it was one that me and Aaron did that I was kind of lost on too. But it was just bringing me to the point of where I'm like, wow, man, there's people who really go through some real stuff that we don't really be knowing about. You know what I mean? And so when I asked you about this, it was merely just to say you're in the profession. So how does a person with what you've experienced maintain your sense of self without going over the edge and talking to yourself 24 hours a day? You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I talk to myself all the time. The and sometimes I argue with myself, and sometimes I lose that argument. Just kidding. But in all honesty, all joking aside, um, it has to do with how I see people and why I do why I have done what I have done in the past. Um, so there are two great books that I loved reading by um, retired Colonel uh, David Grossman. The books are called On Killing and On Combat, and they're basically two sides of the same idea, which is death. One is the victimology side. What is it that causes people who are normally well adjusted, somewhat well adjusted, to turn into a person of violence? And on the other side, what is it that allows a person to commit violent acts in order to promote the greatest good, or to act in a way that requires someone to put their lives on the line without collapsing in fear or allowing PTSD to take over? So it's both of those books were fantastic for me to really prepare myself for the roles that I had to accomplish, and the jobs that I had to perform. They are fantastic books. The author, he was a colonel in the army, or lieutenant colonel. I think he was lieutenant colonel in the army, and he now runs the Killology Institute, which is the study of killing, the study of death, really. And he does this out in, I think it's near West Point. And I think it's in New Jersey. I could be wrong, but if memory serves me correctly, that's where it is. Um, and he has done a lot to really help understand how the body reacts, how people change their thinking patterns, how the neuroscience plays a huge role in turning a person who would normally be peaceful into that of someone who is willing to kill, and why. And when someone has to do that for the profession in order to protect others, or they have to put themselves in harm's way to protect others. I'm talking about all kinds of first responders. So EMT, firefighters, police, military, anyone who has to put themselves in harm's way for the benefit of another, to protect or to neutralize a threat to protect others. Understanding the process of what goes on in the brain and the body helps you create mechanisms to inoculate yourself against the fear, because the fear is the greatest threat. The fear is what paralyzes the mind. If you ever read Dune, or seen the movie Dune, you know the prayer that they use. I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is a little death that freezes the hearts of men. I must face my fear. I must let it pass over me and through me. And when it is gone, I will look inward to see where the fear is gone. Once it has passed, there will be nothing. Only I will remain. And this is the idea that once you let go of the fear and you let it pass through you and let it run its course, the only thing that remains is you, things that you can control, your thoughts, your beliefs, your decisions, your actions. And having that level of control, understanding what you can control is magnificent. It really helps to clarify how you can not only justify what you've done, but also come down from it and create the kind of systems necessary for you to stay well adjusted. The self-regulation and co-regulation mechanisms that you can use to stay well adjusted. I know that we're kind of over time, but I would love to discuss more of this in another episode if you want to.
Oh, we can definitely do that. Next Tuesday works if you want to do that. I have no problem with that at all.
Fabulous.
There's a lot here to unpack, and I'm more than willing to dig a little deeper with this. So I appreciate you for breaking that down. For me personally, I know the audience is probably appreciative of this too, because, like I said, a lot of this I wasn't aware of until I started cracking open the book and I started reading for myself. So, hats off to you. Uh, Shout out to everybody in the building. Everybody that's watching from Rumble, Twitch, Twitter, IG. Appreciate you for hanging out with us tonight. Tomorrow is the Attic Virtual Open Mic. Make sure you lock in. Uh, Jason, as always, a pleasure, man, to sit here and have these exchanges with you. I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. I hope Friday is well with you and everybody here.
Thank you so much for having me. As always, I really enjoy this hour, or in this case, hour and 20 minutes that we spend together, talking about these things every Tuesday and Thursday.
Likewise. You guys enjoy the rest of your evening, man. Let's get into it. See y'all tomorrow.